I missed MSNBC's Democratic Town Hall, but I wanted to talk about one particular moment where Rachel Maddow gave Hillary Clinton the opportunity to actually make a pitch to Bernie Sanders supporters. And Rachel Maddow had explained to Hillary Clinton that Bernie Sanders said his supporters will most likely not switch over and support her unless she plans to adopt some of his policy positions. And this was her botched response.
Well, Rachel, let's look where we are right now. I've got 10.4 million votes. I have 2.7 million more votes, real people showing up to cast their vote, to express their opinion, than Senator Sanders. I have a bigger lead in pledged delegates than Senator Obama, when I ran against him in 2008, ever had over me. I am winning.
So let me get this straight. Your pitch to me is, I'm winning. Looks like you don't have a choice. What kind of a response is that? So I'm winning. Bernie doesn't have a path. If you're a football team that's doing well and you get to the Super Bowl, you don't switch quarterbacks, right? Doesn't that sound like someone else?
Now I'm winning it. It's over. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. These two guys cannot win. There's no path. So why would I change? If you have a football team and you're winning, and then you get to the Super Bowl, you don't change your quarterback, right? So I'm not changing.
Oh, that's right. It sounds just like Donald Trump. So Hillary Clinton, her pitch to Bernie supporters is, I'm winning. You don't have a choice. Too bad. Support me or get a Republican. Okay, that's a terrible pitch. But anyway, she continues, and she does exactly what you're not supposed to do if you're trying to court over another candidate's voters. She attacks the person who they support. Oh, and also she's winning.
But my Wall Street plan is much more specific than his. We saw that when he couldn't even answer questions in the New York Daily News interview. I have laid out a very clear set of objectives about not just reining in the banks, because we already have Dodd-Frank, which President Obama passed and signed. And I've said I will implement it. But I've gone further. He has yet to join me in going after the shadow banking industry. And I think that's why I have 2.7 million more votes.
If you're ahead in the vote, if you're ahead in pledged delegates.
I am ahead in the vote. Rachel, I am way ahead in the vote. No, wait a minute. Look, I have the greatest respect for Senator Sanders, but really, what he and his supporters are now saying just doesn't add up. I have 2.7 million more votes than he has. I have more than 250 more pledged delegates. I'm very proud of the campaign that we have run and the support we have gotten. And of course, we're going to work together. As I said, I share a lot of the same goals. We are going to work together, but I am ahead. And let's start from that premise.
We will win, and we will win, and we will win.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I am thoroughly convinced after that. Look, I don't know who's running her campaign, who is priming her to say this, what's going on in her head, but this is not what you want to say to convince disenfranchised Sanders supporters to switch over to you if you do become the nominee. Can you imagine if it really does turn out to be Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump in November? This would be the most narcissistic campaigns we've ever seen, and it's going to be so disgusting to watch, and there's a reason why so many people would be willing to sit out this election because of it. So I want to make 2 points about Hillary Clinton's pitch here. So first and foremost, she is not doing her homework when it comes to courting over Bernie Sanders supporters. And second of all, she is severely underestimating the reality of the Bernie or Bust movement, and she's thinking that Bernie Sanders supporters are going to be like her supporters in 2008. That's not the case at all. In fact, it's the complete opposite. If she really wanted to court over Bernie Sanders supporters, she would say, you know what, Rachel, you're 100% right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to endorse Bernie Sanders' platform of breaking up the big banks, of reinstating Glass-Steagall. But all she says is, look, my plan is stronger than his. Okay, well, if we believed that, we would have supported you in the first place. So why would we be convinced now? Just because we have no one else? No, we're just going to support Jill Stein or write in Bernie Sanders. That's not a very palatable argument for you to use. It's just insane. And furthermore, the problem is that we know that you have the weaker plan when it comes to Wall Street reform. One, because you take money from them, so we can't trust you. And second of all, your platform doesn't include breaking up the big banks. Your platform doesn't include reinstating Glass-Steagall, and you constantly tout Dodd-Frank as though it's sufficient legislation, but it's not. It did not reign in Wall Street. The problem with Dodd-Frank is that gradually it's been watered down over the years, and it wasn't even that strong to begin with because Barney Frank is one of the co-authors. He was the head of the Financial Services Committee, and he was taking money from Wall Street. So in other words, he was being bribed by the firms who he was supposed to be regulating. So of course it's not sufficient. So you can't just claim that your plan is better on Wall Street. We don't believe you. If we thought your plan was better, we'd probably support you to begin with, but we don't believe that's the case, so that's a horrible argument. Now, as for my second point, Hillary Clinton, as well as Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Barack Obama, all of these Democratic establishment people are severely underestimating the reality that is Bernie or bust. Now, I get why they're doing this, because in 2008, about 45% of Hillary Clinton's supporters they were considered as Puma, party unity my ass. And basically, they were saying that if Hillary Clinton does not win the Democratic nomination, they will not support Barack Obama in November. 45% of them said this, but in the end, Hillary Clinton endorsed Barack Obama and they ended up supporting him. Now, when it comes to the Bernie or bust movement, only about 25 to 33% of them state that they will not support Hillary Clinton if she is the nominee. Now, that's a smaller portion, but that still could be detrimental if 25 to 33% actually don't support Hillary Clinton. Now, again, it seems logical to think that these individuals will switch and unite behind Hillary, but if you think that way, you're not diving into the details. It's really important to do that. So first and foremost, one reason why this is not the case is because Bernie Sanders draws in independents who wouldn't have supported the Democratic candidate otherwise. There are many independent candidates that will just vote for Green, or that will vote for the Constitutional Party, or some other libertarian party. They're not going to support the Democratic candidate no matter what. So all these new voters that Bernie Sanders would have drawn in will be lost if Hillary Clinton is the nominee. Second of all, Barack Obama had the young vote. Hillary Clinton does not have the young vote. Young voters are not going to come out and vote unless they are excited. If they're not excited by your corporatist candidates, they're just going to stay home and not vote. So what makes you think that they're going to go out of their way to wait in line for 5 hours in some states due to voter suppression tactics when they're not even excited about you? They're just going to stay home. So if you already had the young vote, I would say, you know what, you might be right. But the fact that Hillary Clinton cannot win the young vote and only older, more wealthier voters support her, it's devastating. Now, finally, and most importantly, the biggest error in their reasoning is that Bernie Sanders supporters are much, much different than Hillary Clinton supporters. See, the thing about Hillary Clinton supporters is that they're socially liberal, they have a superficial understanding of policy, and what they know about the nuance when it comes to economic policy and foreign policy is probably limited, to be honest. So what they do is they kind of endow trust in the Democratic Party to represent them because they look at the Republican option and they think, look, I don't want to vote for them, and I'm at least socially liberal. I'm in favor of abortion and gay rights, so I guess I'm going to support them. So they tend to just trust the Democratic Party. They tend to trust these Democratic superstars like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi without actually looking at their policy positions. So they prioritize the candidate above the policy. But when it comes to Bernie Sanders, we prioritize the policy above the candidate. So in other words, if Bernie Sanders were to flip and all of a sudden start backtracking and saying, you know what, maybe we should wait to break up the big banks, maybe we shouldn't reinstate Glass-Steagall, we would all abandon him. This isn't a cult of personality with Bernie Sanders. We support him because of his policy positions. We don't support Hillary Clinton because of her policy positions. And this has been something that's been so difficult for people in the establishment to comprehend. Now, I'm not just making this up. I have a bunch of examples for you as to why Hillary Clinton supporters support the candidate above the policy. So case in point, in 2012, everyone was railing against Mitt Romney for giving speeches to these large financial institutions, for having super PACs, for taking lots of money from special interests. And that was one of the main complaints by Democratic voters who are now supporting Hillary Clinton. But now all of a sudden, Hillary Clinton is taking money from to give speeches to Goldman Sachs. She has 7 super PACs. She is taking so much money from every special interest you can imagine. But now Democrats are sort of walking back their stance on that. Maybe Citizens United isn't so bad. Maybe money in politics is just the way the system works and you got to play the game to win. So wasn't Mitt Romney just playing the game to win? Why are you reversing your position on this? Again, this is a reason why they support the candidate above the policy. Furthermore, another example, Syrian no-fly zone. This is basically a Republican position that Hillary Clinton wants. She's saying that Russia is not allowed to go in Syria and fight ISIS. She's saying there's this whole zone above Syria that you're not allowed to fly over, and if you do, if you violate that Syrian no-fly zone, we're going to shoot down your plane. That's basically escalating tensions with Russia. Democratic voters are doves, not hawks, right? So all of a sudden, they're defending this insane policy that could potentially reignite the Cold War that every single Republican supports. See, it's just another reason why it's the candidate that they care about, not the policy positions. Because Bernie Sanders supporters, they have a nuanced view of economic policy, of foreign policy, of domestic policies that screw us over. So universal healthcare. We know that Hillary Clinton doesn't support universal healthcare anymore because her palms were greased by the health insurance industry. They started paying her millions of dollars to give these paid speeches. They started paying her large sums of money for her campaign contributions. And lo and behold, all of a sudden she doesn't like universal healthcare anymore. So we get it. We understand what's going on. We know how money in politics corrupts the system. Hillary Clinton supporters don't see it that way. They believe the Democratic Party is truly looking out for their best interests. So that's why when Hillary Clinton endorsed Barack Obama in 2008, like sheep, they followed Hillary Clinton because her supporters are like sheep. They will follow her and defend her no matter what she does. Whereas that's not the case with us and Bernie Sanders. If he starts messing up and backtracking on his policy positions, not going to defend him. I've been calling out Bernie Sanders from the beginning to take a strong position on marijuana, and finally he came around to it. I disagree with Bernie Sanders on some issues, but I am not going to defend Bernie Sanders unless he maintains his progressive policy platform. Now, finally, Hillary Clinton talks about how, I dropped out, I endorsed Barack Obama immediately, and I united the party, as if this is some noble thing she did, when in actuality, she wasn't looking out for the party. She was looking out for numero uno, because what she did is she probably did a secret deal with Barack Obama saying, look, if you make me Secretary of State or VP or something, I'll endorse you. So, of course, Barack Obama was obliged to listen to her and take her up on her offer, or whoever made the offer. But we know that she did it because of her own self-interest, because she was getting a position in his administration, so that way she can boost her own resume when she does inevitably run for president in 2016, as she's doing now. So she can't pretend as though this is some noble thing that she did, because it's not. Bernie Sanders is the noble one, because he's saying, look, I will not support Hillary Clinton or endorse her unless she's actually going to fight for a $15 minimum wage, unless she's going to endorse universal healthcare. I'm sorry, but she's got to look out for the voters. Bernie Sanders doesn't care about looking out for himself. And that's the thing that they hate about Bernie Sanders and can't understand. So in the end, Hillary Clinton, she really botched her chance to get Bernie Sanders supporters to switch to her. And if this is any indication of what she's going to do to court us over, man, she's going to have a rough time come November.